Foolish.
Oh my God. This is crazy. So you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I fucking love your shirt.
Thank you. Okay. So I am so excited to be here and so like nervous. I just feel really honored to have like this much space dedicated to me in such a sacred environment. And so, okay, before I start, I just wanted to give like a trigger warning. So how I'm gonna go through this is I'm gonna break up my, you know how I write like short poems? So I'm gonna break up the sections by singing little Frank Ocean clips because I love Frank Ocean. And I also sing, which you guys didn't know. So I thought that would be fun to include. So I'm gonna pop that in and I'm just gonna go straight through it, which I feel like is not typical, but that's just how I felt was gonna work. So how my mic is discussing mostly what has happened this year. So this year I fell in love for the first time, and then it fell apart the day after my grandmother died of COVID. And then a month later, my best friend hit a really dark spot and became suicidal. So it's really dark, and if you already know my poetry, it's really sad. But just the trigger warnings, how it's gonna move through it in case you wanna like prepare yourself for when you wanna step, if you need to step out. It first goes through heartbreak, then kind of like touches on depression, one poem about sex, just a little slice of sex, just a little bit, self-harm a little tiny, and then suicide a little tiny, and then death a little tiny. So step out when you need. If any of that is just way too much, then that's totally fine. Love you. Take a step back right now if you need it. Just to preface this, so the heartbreak that I touch upon, this person, I had not seen him since April, since I walked away from him. And then last Thursday, see him on the street throwing up. So then this morning I'm walking on the street and I see him again. And it's been 6 months, like really weird. So emotions are running high and you're gonna see them all because this open mic was about him before I even knew I was gonna see him. So anyway, without further ado, here I go. Okay. I will always love you how I do. Let go of a prayer for you, just a sweet word. 3 years ago, a family of streetlights danced across your face, jumped the cliff of your jawline and fell into our intertwined hands. You always looked so beautiful in the light. 3 years ago, life was so safe with you. Love was the taste of you. 3 years ago, we drank wine under the moon and I whispered, happy birthday, baby. 3 years later, and I won't be wishing you happy birthday, but instead I wish a smile across your face when you remember the night held us once upon a time. I pour poems in your coffee, mornings at a time. Everything feels like reading in slow motion. Your hands turn to amusement parks after dark. I told you I wanted to make a movie about your life. I meant that. Being with you felt like time traveling. I watch you drive around town, singing memories into the sky, the sun seeping through open windows. We go skydiving off your stories. You asked me to sing for you one night. I pressed the breeze against my forehead. I put love on my tongue. Every time I would open my mouth, you'd look at me like a miracle. I'll catch you in the middle of your sentences. Words raining, smile broken enough to match mine. Poems about you pour out of me, like promises made only for your palms. How do you do that? Turn my tears to trust, my water to wine. Make love a word I can pronounce again. Make love look just like you. I spent the car ride home singing lullabies to my anxiety. trying not to open the car door and let myself out in the middle of the highway. I spent the car ride home with 100 knots in my stomach and 100 tears down my face and 100 more knocking on the door of my rumbling thoughts. Your secrets like scratch CDs skipping in my mind and electrocuting truth. You are in the driver's seat successfully ignoring the ringworm in my breathing. I turn to you for the first time in an hour. I make you look at my face, the rivers you placed in my tear ducts. I made you look at the hurt you promised to protect me from. You tell me, write a poem. Maybe that was the best advice you ever gave to me. I have not stopped writing poems about those moments, a slow motion murder of my hope in you. I often wonder how many years my mind will live in that passenger seat, how many times I will take the same way home just to end up in the memory of your arms. How long will it take for that car ride to end, for our love to die? The poem I wrote in the car that day. Dear April, I've reigned as much as you told me not to. Every night I have nightmares that leave me sleepwalking into my grave, and I don't miss you. I miss me. I miss the parts of me that used to paint my shadow. Now I am in the attic of my mind, dark corners, picked locks, everything the thieves have taken, I handed to them. April, I have hope, but there is cement in my words, conditional love in my cereal. Give me my flowers while I'm still alive. Dear April, I'm tired. Dear April, don't let her die. You tell me you love me and there's someone else in the same breath. You watch me fall apart, leave a poet speechless. I'm putting the found blonde hairs together to make up a body that took my place the nights I slept alone. And I spend the next week learning to walk again, refamiliarizing myself with oxygen. That night I tell you I love you for the first time before I leave you, and I hoped you'd beg me to stay, but the goodbye is a slow stabbing wound you let chew through me. Do you remember the night I whispered, "Tengo miedo," into your chest? This is what I was afraid of. The night you'd only live on in my poems. The truth is, whether you know it yet or not, there is no other me. You will not find me in her body. You will not forget the magic I moved in you. The table is prepared for you. Ooh, wishing you Godspeed, glory. There will be mountains you won't move. Drawers still only opening and closing, fucking becomes automatic. My body a hostel for hungry men who tell me what I'm worth. I break my back painting a mask for men I don't care for men who don't read my poetry, for men who don't know I cry at night after they leave because I do not love any of them and they do not love any of me. I'm a body lost in my own skin, using my limbs to reel people in. I remember the first time I wanted to unravel my skin for someone. I remember the backfire down my throat almost immediately. I was taught that most of the time I am not safe in a man's arms. I remember the first boy to take my words out of my mouth and keep them for himself. I remember a million false alarms till my ears went numb and now everyone sounds like a siren. How do you learn to love again when you've only ever lost yourself to it? You used to tell me with you it would never rain. There were no clouds in the sky of our love. You said this as I learned to drown for you. Do you remember what you said then when it started pouring in my eyes, when it poured for a year straight, when the road to you became an ocean and you never learned to swim? I could not stay afloat and keep you too. Losing you was my breakthrough. What do you say now? If I told you all about the sun that was born the day I left you? I'm about to drive in the ocean. I'm trying to swim from something bigger than me. Kick off my shoes and swim good, swim good. The tears roll silently. They know better than disruption. They know thirst. They know what it looks like, running back to the source, the body who bred the demons, the body who slayed them in the same lifetime. The tears always take her by surprise. So she and body lay in the middle of a field, choose pink clouds to fall in love with, choose unholy ground to declare bed. Some days my humanness strips me dry. Some days the tears are so silent, I mistake myself for your secrets. Ever since the tears turned silent, the world can fall apart anywhere. The world has lost limbs inside me. I spend the night fishing out parts of you, the parts of you convincing parts of me to stay in broken places, to be silent as plates shift beneath our breath, to let the world fall apart inside me and pronounce it love, to wave goodbye to my body, to scare the tears into silence and still not call it war, and still not ask for anything in return. Today, I watch a body crawl down the drain. Hands swallow themselves into apologies. You are always making yourself into something for someone else. Now the moon is melting down the walls, and the bath is overflowing into the kitchen. The chairs are learning to float. The house doesn't know how to swim, and you still can't let anyone in. I can hear the tulips tearing up when you come around. Every day, taking the back roads in my mind, your fingertips were world travelers. Played tourists on my treasures, then took trains to other women's flesh. I confused love with treason. Now there are stoplights under my skin. I am so afraid to be touched again. I'm so afraid love and another body will just feel like the ghost of you. I'm so afraid that love as a universe has grown into a siren song, is now a haunted planet. I am so afraid that love in its entirety has lived and died with you. But I'll leave room for your hands when I tell my stories. I'll use my teeth and I'll be loud when I speak about myself. Do you know how many people like me better bottled? Do you know how many people fell in love with my facade? Do you know what kind of person you have to be to not apologize for your voice, to not apologize for your heart, even when it's bleeding everywhere, even when no one loves you for it? Hope they get to see my colors and know that I've enjoyed sunshine. Pray they get to see me with her. The lady in the library asks me how I'm doing. I spill over. Some days I am everything. I am gold in the center of the fire, unburned, unmelted. Other days I am a dying flame. She asks me how I'm doing, and I tell her I'm still coughing up the past year. Still nursing myself back to life, manicuring my skin in moonlight. She asks me how I'm doing, and I rip splinters from my teeth. She asks me how I'm doing, and the whole library lights on fire. I ask her, do you know how fire sleeps? Burning, always kindling, externally and internally, uncomfortably alive. There's demons living on the front porch of your mind, spider webs in the corner of your mouth. I know you're tired. I'm tired too, but I'll meet you at every planet your mind takes you to. I'll bring you bottled oxygen. I'll tell you all about how the gold mines turn to dust when they see you, how the mountains mistake you as volcano, how the swords start doing backbends when they see you stand up to fight again and again. Depression makes tomorrow the race I never signed up for. Depression is the lawn chair left out in the winter, too tainted to be repainted. Depression is a sink leaking. You can hear it dripping, but it's not flooding, so it's okay that you're on the floor because you're not drowning, right? My emotions do not make me unlovable. In fact, my emotions are small countries only I inhabit, where I find treasure in the corners of my fury and transfer it into poetry. My emotions are a high tide. I watch the sunset under every night. My emotions have done backflips over suicide, have fallen in love with the smallest amount of light just to make it to the morning. And you have the audacity to treat me like a burden when I am a garden and you are stripped soil that I never needed to survive. Suicide and I are no longer friends. I see her sometimes, but I no longer speak her language. I unlearned how to kill myself. The noose will no longer stay knotted. I cannot seem to stop myself from getting out of bed. I think I fall more in love with tomorrow each night. The oxygen keeps having baby showers for all the new ways I've learned to keep breathing. Dear everything that tried to kill me, you have beautifully and wonderfully failed. Keep alive. Stay alive. I'm sorry he made you feel like you're hard to love. I'm sorry you're afraid to try again for what it's worth. I've loved you all the days he couldn't. I've pushed oxygen through your lungs. I've pulled the sun into the sky for you. I've planted seeds in your scars to grow new armor. I've loved you, and it wasn't hard. It was beautiful. It was my purpose. When I left you, the morning held a funeral for the nights I believed you were different. For the times my ears married themselves to your promises, our memories started walking backwards, back into their boxes. I buried them the night I left you because when I got home, they all had their masks off. And they all looked like mirrors screaming, look who you let yourself fall in love with. When I left you, I found me in the middle of the street, right where I left my body. For the first time in months, I held her. For the first time in years, I chose her. Do not tame yourself for people who do not have a tongue for tolerance, the ones who spit too much, too loud, too proud, spit back too bad. You are made of things not meant for just anyone. Do not make yourself palatable for the sake of others. Stop coating your fires in sugar. Stop making yourself smaller for hands that don't deserve to hold you. You were not made to fulfill someone else's idea of beautiful. You were made with a Milky Way for a tongue. You are a poet. Let them tremble. You are a woman. Let them worship. Go ahead. Be loudly unimpressed. Let your boundaries grow fangs. You are not convenience. You are not free entrance. Let your standards scare them away. They never belonged here anyway. Be unafraid. Be so unafraid of being alone. Be so unafraid of the truth that all you are left with is love. Love that has no one to prove itself to. Love that comes like air. Easy in, easy out. Love that holds you in all types of weather. A final letter to the sun. And all the things that tried to shine, I've been thinking about the way our hands move when the sky acts out. The way we catch ourselves when we know no one else will. Every few days, I think I don't matter. I think my poems rot in my mouth, echo like cavities, and no one hears it when I fall apart because I've always been broken. I've made broken look so beautiful, made my smile look convincing. No one can tell I'm sinking. I used to feel like a superhero for surviving the break-ins and the breakdowns. But then the spring came and I couldn't save you, so my cape sleeps in the closet now. I'm sorry you had to learn to survive without me, but I've realized I cannot give CPR when my lungs are empty. I think the way the world works is terrifying. People are dying and crying in their caskets, but nothing is changing. Progress doesn't mean peace, and I want to tell you it'll all be okay, but sometimes that's a lie. And the sky folds, and the love is lost, and the funeral is tomorrow, and I didn't get to say goodbye. Now we name every butterfly after you. I've learned to stop letting other people make my promises. I've learned I am the promise. But the pain has her own agenda. My fists were holding out for heaven, but the truth is the book is written. These poems were born in the midst of tragedy. They come from stabbed wounds. The bleeding hasn't stopped. My scars reopen like feuding clouds. I still mourn everyone I've ever had to leave. I still bury everything I've ever tried to love. Sometimes I send letters into the sky for him. The one thing left we share. I sometimes hope he hears me when I turn ocean over his memory. The nights my bones howl away their marrow. It's okay that it hurts this much and for this long. The roses have always grown from the cracks in the concrete, so I don't plant gardens. I stopped striving for joy. I stopped imagining having a brain that does not eat itself for dinner, that life is unrehearsed. You cannot start a garden in a graveyard without acknowledging the ghosts, without honoring who lived here first. I've learned I'll survive. I'll survive sad. Someday I'll love again sad. I'll publish the book sad. I'll write this poem sad. I'll fight for you sad. I'll keep trying to change the world sad. I'll be alive and I'll laugh and I'll be sad. And I'll still do everything they do while sad. I'll make it all the way to that place in the sun. And it won't matter if I'm sad because I'll have survived, because I'll have become her, this sad miracle, this galaxy of depression, this body so equipped to keep living. And the best advice I got was keep writing, yeah. And keep living, yeah, and keep loving, oh. And when the ink dries and the pages turn to dust, so will we turn to dust, so will we, dust, dust. That's it.
Yay, Liv!
What?
That's it. You just served us all of dinner and we were full, and you're just gonna be like, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Bye.
Bye.
I can't even respond.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for listening, being so interactive. You guys are the best.
You're amazing, Liv. We love you.
Thank you. I love you all. I hear my family. My dad.
Okay, I don't even know. Oh, I'm gonna pause because